so we were talking a little bit about going into a little bit more conjugation stuff, right? I kind of want to start off super duper simple, okay? So, let's start with one word that we should all be familiar with. I think we did it a couple of weeks ago, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But I'm going to kind of show you a little bit of where it can all go to, just from my knowledge base right now, right? So, whoa, hang on. Agiosha. When is that? Now. What tells me that it's now? The ha, and more specifically, that ah at the end. Right? The ah. Okay? Now, when we come upon a root like this, at the end of the root, I'm going to underline the root. At the end of the root is an I. What is that? Consonant or vowel?
That is a vowel.
That's a vowel. Now, it doesn't always work like this, but 9 times out of 10, that H is there to break up that vowel. Those 2 vowels right there, okay? So, Agi, who am I talking about?
Me.
Me. What am I doing?
Hungry.
I am hungry, right? Right now.
That's as far as my Cherokee gets, right? You're good, you can say that. You can say that, you're good to go.
Exactly. As long as you can say that, somebody's bound to feed you eventually.
Right. You won't starve.
You won't starve. So, now, let's talk about, not right now, but let's talk about the immediate past. When I say immediate past, it just happened, okay? So, here is where we get that little formula we talked about a couple weeks ago, where we go to the immediate past. We have a prefix and a suffix. A prefix and a suffix, right? Prefix meaning what?
Before.
Before. Suffix meaning?
Behind.
Exactly. So, when we go to the immediate past, we have a prefix of either Z or TS, right? Is this getting kind of familiar? A little bit? Okay. So your prefix is going to be either TSI or TS, depending on what this is right here, right? Depending on the start of your pronominal prefix. What's your pronominal prefix in layman's terms? The who. The who, or your person marker, right? Pronominal prefix equals person marker, the who of what we're talking about. So, after your prefix gets attached to the front of your word, then at the end of your word, in this, what we call a regular verb, you're going to take off the whole ending, and your suffix is going to be either shtungi or ungi. Shtungi or ungi. Okay? So, let's take this and let's practice around with it a little bit.
Now, the shoki or the ungi, is that the immediate past still?
Yes,
Okay.
still in the immediate past. This is your little like formula thing, I want to call it, for how you get to the immediate past, okay? So, first off is your prefix. And then your pronominal prefix and then your root, and then your time marker, or your time suffix. Does that make sense? So, first off, in this word, since we're going to the immediate past, what's the first thing we need? This is your prefix. We need one of these two. So, is it going to be TSI or TS? TS. Why is it going to be TS?
Because it starts with the vowel.
Starts with a vowel, right? So, we're doing TS and then your vowel. Agi, right? Agi being your what? Pronominal prefix.
Pronominal prefix, who it is.
Who it is. Exactly.
Person.
Exactly. And then your root. Your root here being Yoshi. Now, when I say a root, when we talk about going to these other places in time, your Yoshi, or the root, stays the same every single time. The Yoshi is always going to be there. When we start switching around these, prefixes and suffixes to make it a different time, the Yoshi stays every time. Okay? So now, I don't want a ha. Why? Because I'm not in the present, right? So, we're going to take the ha off, and we need either this one or this one. Now, are we going to use stungi or ungi if this ends in a vowel?
The first one,
Stungi, exactly. Now, the beautiful thing about this is, once you figure out if you're going to use stungi or ungi, this part stays the same from now on. No matter who we're talking about, this part is going to stay the same. So once you figure out if it's stungi or ungi, that's going to follow it down the rest of the way on your conjugation chart, right? So now, what's going to happen if first off, what does this say? Zagi Yoshi Shkungi. Nijiwi, y'all say it. Zagi Yoshi Shkungi. Zagi Yoshi Shkungi.
Zagi Yoshi Shkungi.
Yeah. Zagi Yoshi Shkungi. There you go. Alright, so it sounds a little bit like Zayoshi, right? Kinda, not quite. Because that D is in there to break it up and talk about me, right? So, what if I want to talk about you now? Well, let's look at it this way. These two are going to stay the same, right? We still have the Yoshi, and we still have the Shtungi, right?
And would it go to Zazi?
Close. We're using TSI or TS here. Which one? Well, first off, let's get to the U part. If this is in set B, Agi, right? Agi, what is the U? Agi, Za.
Za.
Agi, Za, right? Now, with this being what it is now, am I going to use the TS or the TSI?
TSI,
Why?
because you need that vowel in between, so it's not gonna be, you have to have a vowel.
Exactly.
It don't sound right.
Exactly. So, here we need a vowel to break up these consonants, right? Now, I want you to think of it like this. Because really, the time marker is just the TS. The only reason the E pops in there is when there's a consonant and you have to break it up, right? Okay, so, Zizayoshi Shkungi. Nijiwi, you all say Zizayoshi Shkungi.
Zayoshi Shkungi.
Zayoshi Shkungi.
Yes, so, now, if you go to use this, your speakers, they're going to look at you funny. Because 9 times out of 10, that Gi's not there. We're going to teach it to you this way. That way you know the full, formal, long form of what this is. So, be prepared for them to have them, like, look at you and go, you're talking fancy, you know? Like, you're doing it the long way, you're saying it too long, but you're gonna know what it is, right? So, now, what's gonna happen when we take it to he or she? Now again, once we figure out this part now stays the same the rest of the way down, right? So we always have the Yoshi, and we always have the Shtungi, right? So, first off, what's your pronominal prefix gonna be? Who are we talking about? He or she? Agi, za, u, right? Yes, u. Now, what other prefix do we need? TS. Why? Because it's a vowel, right? Because your pronominal prefix starts with a vowel. Awesome. So, Zuyoshi Shtungi. Nijui Zuyoshi Shtungi.
Zuyoshi Shtungi.
Zuyoshi Shtungi.
Zuyoshi Shtungi.
Now, what does that mean in its full tense?
It means, he, she, or it will be hungry. Or
Not will
was
be.
hungry.
Was just hungry.
Was just hungry,
Right.
because it's the immediate.
Exactly, exactly. Now, this one I would use, my best guess, you've got about a good hour to use this. Because then it'll change to more than just the immediate past. And that's why everybody's like, oh my gosh, this language is so hard to learn. But once you start recognizing these patterns, I promise it gets a little easier. It just takes a lot of effort and a lot of sitting there just like writing stuff out. Okay? And practicing your pronunciation. If you can get to where you can start doing this on your own and practicing that with somebody, oh, you're gonna grow by leaps and bounds. Because just with this right here, and you already knowing your 10 people, you've just doubled what you can say already. You can go from here to there. And you can go from the Zayoshi to the Zayoshi Shtungi. Zayoshi Shtungi. Just knowing this little bit, you've doubled what you can already do in your present tense. Does that make sense? Okay. So, let's keep going. I'm gonna just erase from down here. Everybody got this? Okay. So, now, let's take it to you two were just hungry. You two were just hungry. First off, what's my root?
Yoshi.
Never gonna change, right? When we're talking about hungry, the Yoshi stays. Now, from your last one, what's the past? Or what's your suffix gonna be? Shtungi. Shtungi. Right? Now those two don't change the rest of the way down. It's amazing. Okay, so now I want to talk about you two. So, let's start right here. We're in set B. Now this side, I'm going to start doing this from now on when we're talking about person markers. That way you can kind of get the hang of, if I give like a hand signal, you're going to know what I'm talking about. So, who is this first? Agi. And then? Za and U. And now, Steve. Or, in this case, Steve. Still Steve. Right? Why?
Oh, the I.
Because of the I. Exactly. So, Steve. Right? Now, do I need a TSI or a TS? Yeah, just right there. TSI. Right? Why? Because it starts with that consonant right there. Is it making so much more sense now? Okay. So,
This is two people.
yes, this is you two, right? So when you use this, you have to be talking to somebody and somebody else.
And it doesn't include me.
No, it doesn't include me, right? So, that's why when I do the things, we're pointing at you two, away from me to you two, right? Two cheeks.
And we're still in that hour.
Yes, we're still in that hour. Okay, now, what about this next one?
You all.
You all, right? So how am I gonna get there? Remember, your Yoshi and your Stungy stay the same. So what's gonna go right there and there? EZ. EZ is your pronominal prefix, right? EZ. Now, what's gonna go right there?
Yes.
TS.
Yes.
ZZ Yoshi Stungy.
Yoshi.
Uh-huh. So, remember, this is what I love about set set B prefixes on these words. Because there's a clear definition between the two, right? So, we have Augie, Za, U, Spee, EZ, and then
On the ED.
Egini or Guinea, right? Those two are the same. So, Guinea or Egini. So what do I need here?
The TS.
The TS. Zigini Yoshi Stungi.
Ziggy Yoshi Stunky.
Zigini Yoshi Stungi. That's it. All right, so let's say these two and you tell me who we're talking about, okay? So, Zisti Yoshi Stungi.
Ziggy Yoshi Stunky.
Uh-huh.
That's you too.
You two, right? I want Zizi Yoshi Stungi.
Ziggy Yoshi Stunky is you all.
You all.
Uh-huh. Now leg, Zigini Yoshi Stungi.
Ziggy Yoshi Stunky.
Who is it?
Everybody.
Not everybody.
You and I.
You and I.
Okay.
That's it. You and I. You and I. Now remember, when it ends in that "ing," even if it's in set B, if it ends in that "ing," I want you to think, you are in my heart. You are in my heart. That's why we do this, right? You and I. You and I. Ing. Even if it has that "ed" on the beginning, you and I. Cool? All right. So, what comes next? Well, from here, let's go to Nagai. Everybody. I don't know why I did that. Sorry, what?
ED.
EE, exactly. So this one's everybody. That is off center, my bad. So, what do I need there?
Yes.
The TS. Exactly.
Ziggy Yoshi Stunky.
Ziggy Yoshi Stungi. So now that's everybody, myself included, right? Everybody in the room, everybody that can hear me. Ziggy Yoshi Stungi. All right. Now, let's take it to this one. Who is this? Me and her. Me and her, right? How do I get there?
OD.
Oh, Guinea. Oh, Guinea. Yes, exactly. Now, the other beautiful thing about these is this. If Guinea is talking about you and I, Oh, Guinea is still talking about two people. Still talking about two people, right? Guinea, you and I, Oh, Guinea, she and I. Now, with that O, we've cut off the rest of y'all, and I'm not talking about you anymore. I'm talking about me, right? I am in the circle. I and he or she or it. There's still two people. Why is there still two people? That E right there, that matches that. Exactly. Exactly. So, what do I need? Am I gonna use TSI or TS?
Yeah.
Exactly. Zogi Yoshi Shtungi. Zogi ni Yoshi Shtungi. Uh-huh, exactly. And who am I talking about again?
Me and her.
Me and her. Exactly. All right. Remember, these two are staying the same. Now, let's talk about this one. Who's next?
It would be Ogie.
Uh-huh. Ogie, right? Me and them. Ogie. Me and them. Now, what am I gonna put over here?
With, the TS.
The TS, exactly. Zogi Yoshi Shtungi. Zogi Yoshi Shtungi. That's me and them now. So, the beautiful thing about this again is if you can remember that Igi is everybody. Now Ogie is still everybody, but not you, right? There's still a group of people, but you're not in it, right? So, Zogini Yoshi Shtungi. Easy week. There you go. Awesome. So, I'm going to say it. You're going to tell me who it is, right? Who it is. Ziki Yoshi Shtungi.
Everyone.
Everybody. Right? Zogini Yoshi Shtungi.
Me and her, them.
Me and her or him or it, right? No, Zogi Yoshi Shtungi.
Me and them.
Me and them. Exactly. Alright, now we got one more on this one. So now we're talking about who? Them. Them. I'm pointing at my toes, they're a group, right? Them. I'm not talking to me, I'm not talking to you, we're talking about them. So, who is that? Uni. Uh-huh. Uni. So I need a what? A TS or a TSI? Yes. Zuni Yoshi Shtungi. They were just hungry. Right? They were immediately in the past, just hungry. Now, there are your 20 different ways that you can talk about hungry now. For sure, 20 different ways, right? So, now, let's look into the immediate future. We're still working with Agiyoshi. Now we're looking toward the future, okay? Now the beautiful thing about this is you're no longer worried about a prefix before your prefix. We're only taking a suffix, okay? So your suffix is going to be skasty or asty.
But you do not need a prefix.
Nope, you don't need a prefix for this one. Now this is the I'm fixing to, right? I kind of think of it like that. I'm fixing to be doing something. Like immediately, in a few minutes, I'm fixing to be doing something. Okay? That's like the only way I could get into my head. But it's right in the immediate future. It's just about to happen. I can feel it coming.
An hour.
Yeah, within an hour or two, yeah. So, now, here we only have 3 lines. Why? Now, right? We're only worried about the pronominal ones. So, let's get that up on the board. we're still dealing with what? Yoshi, right? Now, let's get to the who of it. Who? I want to say me. Agi. Now, this is what we call a regular verb. Nothing super duper fancy gets to happen. When the regular verb takes place, we're taking off the entirety of that time marker. Okay? The whole hop. We're taking off the whole hop. Okay? So, we're replacing it now with either skesti or asti, depending on what that is. The I, right? It's a vowel.
So it can't go with.
It can't go with the A, right?
So we would have to.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Skesti. And again, once you figure out this part, it's going to stay the same the entire way down. So, now, all you have to worry about is your pronominal prefix. Because these two don't change. Right? Yeah. Better work. So, now let's talk about you.
So,
Zayoshi skesti. So nitiwi, Zayoshi skesti. Zayoshi skesti. Now let's talk he, she, or it. Who is it? Ooh. Ooh, Yoshi skesti. Ooh, Yoshi skesti. Now, these ones are a little more complicated, especially with that she right there, because it's like sh. It's just gonna take practice. And I have a little bit, I don't think it's a list, but I have problems saying shoes. So, it took me a hot minute to be like, okay, I've got it now. But it just takes a lot of Akiyoshishkesti. Zayoshishkesti. It just takes a lot of practice and slowing it down to where you're comfortable to get those sounds out. And then the more you get comfortable with getting the sounds out, the quicker it'll come. And it's going to sound a lot more fluid. Because now I can say Akiyoshishkesti. And it's just, it sounds like music almost. Akiyoshishkesti. Right? So, now, let's keep going. First, let's say those one more time, sorry. Akiyoshishkesti. Zayoshishkesti. Uyoshishkesti. Now, who's next? You too. What am I doing?
Steve.
Stiyoshishkesti.
Steve.
I know. Stiyoshishkesti. There you go. Then who's next? Easy. Easy-yoshishkesti. And that's the who?
You all.
You all, right? So, Stiyoshishkesti, Easy-yoshishkesti. What about this one?
You and I.
You and I. Which is going to be what?
You.
Igini-yoshishkesti.
Yoshi.
Not Igi. Igini-yoshishkesti. There you go. That's it.
Because if I said E, then I would say everything.
Exactly. I love that we're getting that. The light bulbs are going off. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay, so let's practice those a few more times. Who is this one? Stiyoshi Shkesti.
You too.
No, Iziyoshi Shkesti. No, like, Igini Yoshi Shkesti.
You and I.
Oh, stop.
Iki is everybody.
Iggy is everybody. Igini Yoshi Shkesti. This one, Igini, you and I, and then everybody. Iggy. Iggy Yoshi Shkesti. Now who is that again? Nicole. Right? Everybody. Me included. Now, let's look at these exclusive ones. So,
Me and one other person.
me and one other person. What's it gonna be?
Steve.
Oh, so you're close. You're on the right track. It's the other one, right? Because we're still in set. Which one?
Ogi.
Ogini. Oh, stop. Ogini Yoshishkesti.
Ogini Yoshi Shkesti.
Ogini Yoshishkesti.
Ogini Yoshi Shkesti.
There you go. Now who is this one again?
Me and one other person.
Me and him or her or it, right?
Yeah.
On one. Now, this one.
Ogini.
Ogi. Yes.
Ogi Yoshi.
Ogi Yoshishkesti. Ogi Yoshishkesti.
Ogi Yoshi Shkesti.
Hold on. Now. We got one more left and we're talking about them now. Uni. Uni Yoshishkesti. Uni Yoshishkesti. Now, you've taken your Agiyoshiha, knowing one word, to then knowing 10 ways to say hungry. Now you're up to 30 with just those two little tricks. That blows my mind. It's a lot, but it can be done. We're getting there. Okay. So now, first off, let's go to the habitual. It's a lot easier than the other two. Okay? Well, what time are we at?
You're at 7:42.
We'll get there. Okay. All right.
This is habitual item.
Yes, we're getting ready to go into the habitual tense. Habitual, which means what?
That's always.
Always or
Always do.
over and over, right? Habitual. So, with this one, you're only going to use a suffix again. And it's going to be either shkoi or oe. Shkoi or oe, depending on, again, your root. So, your root, your pronominal prefix, and your suffix. We're only dealing with these three things, right? So first off, let's talk about me. What's that gonna be? Agi. What's the hungry root? Yoshi. Now, am I gonna go with shkoi or oe?
Shkoi.
Right, because it ends with a vowel. We need a consonant to break it up. You might hear me tell Grandma that sometimes. Agiyoshi shko.
Always on.
I'm always hungry, right? So, Agiyoshi shkoi. Now again, this is your full form, right? That E stays until you get a little more comfortable and we can start dropping it. And again, they're going to look at you like you're talking funny because you are to them, right? But keep it up because if we lose this part, we're not going to know it's there anymore. So that's why I'm trying to make sure that we got the full form. So, We know the Yoshi and the Shkoe are gonna stay the same, right? Go ahead and get a head start. The Yoshi and the Shkoe now stay the same. And all you have to worry about now is those pronominal prefixes or your what?
Person.
Person markers. Exactly. So we go from Augie to who? Za. So Yoshi Shkasty. Or no, I'm sorry. The Yoshi Shkoe. There we go. The Yoshi Shkoe. Now we're talking about you always being hungry, right? Okay. Now, who's next? Ooh. Who is it?
Him, her, or it.
Him, her, or it. What are you throwing at me? Alright, so, Neezy we, Augie Yoshi Shkoe. Oh, sorry.
Augie, Yoshi, Shkoe.
The Yoshi Shkoe.
Yoshi, Shkoe.
Boo Yoshi Shkoe. Then comes next.
Steve.
Steve Yoshi Shkoe. Now it gets a little easier the more you do it. So who is Steve Yoshi Shkoe? You two. Now?
You all.
How do we do it?
Easy. Easy
Yoshi Shkoe. Alright, Neezy we, Easy Yoshi Shkoe.
Easy.
The Yoshi, Shkoe.
And who is it?
You all.
You all. Alright, now, this one.
You and
How do we get there?
I.
Ikini. Ikini Yoshi Shkoe. You and I. Ikini. Yes? Remember, it kind of mirrors almost the set A, because Eni is still you and I in set A, right? Ikini, that Eni is still in there. Just remember that. And we're talking about how many people? 2. You and I, right? 2 people. So, Neezy we, Yoshi Shkoe.
Yoshi, Shkoe.
Who is it?
You two.
Now, Easy Yoshi Shkoe.
Easy, Yoshi, Shkoe.
Who is it?
You all.
Now, Ray, Igini Yoshi Shkoe.
You and I are always hungry.
That's it.
Gini, Yoshi, Shkoe.
Igini Yoshi Shkoe. Or Gini Yoshi Shkoe, depending on who you ask. Because sometimes they don't always pronounce that I at the beginning. But you kind of overcome and adapt when you don't, when you find those speakers so you can start talking to them. Alright, so who's next? Everybody, which is?
Iggy.
Iggy.
Yoshi, Shkoe.
Iggy Yoshi Shkoe. Everybody's hungry. Everybody's always hungry, which I think is factual. I mean, you never stop being hungry. Well, unless you eat. But it's something that happens over and over and over again. Alright. Okay. So, Neezy we, Iggy Yoshi Shkoe.
Yoshi, Shkoe.
Alright, now we go to the exclusives. Who is this? Me and one other person, which is? Ogini. Ogini Yoshi Shkoe. Neezy we, Ogini Yoshi Shkoe.
Yoshi, Shkoe.
And who is it?
Me and one other person.
Alright, what's this one?
Me and them.
Me and him, which is? Ogi. Ogi Yoshi Shkoe. Neezy we, Ogi Yoshi Shkoe.
Yoshi, Shkoe.
Awesome. Alright, so let's do it one more time. We're going to say it and say who it is. Go on. Iggy Yoshi Shkoe.
Iggy, Yoshi, Shkoe.
Confused?
Everyone.
Everybody. right? Hold on. Ogini Yoshishko'i.
Ogini Yoshishko'i.
Pagayust?
Me and one others.
No. Ogi Yoshishko'i.
Ogi Yoshishko'i.
Pagayust?
Me and them.
Exactly. Here. I love this. All right. Next up, we have who?
Them.
Just them, right? And how do we get there?
Uni.
Uh-huh.
Uni Yoshishko'i.
Uh-huh. Uni Yoshishko'i. Uni Yoshishko'i.
Uni Yoshishko'i.
Shogosha. Uni Yoshishko'i.
Uni Yoshishko'i.
Kagiyust?
Them.
Them.
Them are always hungry.
Them aren't always hungry. I'm talking about my kids. They bottomless pits. All right, so now you can start taking these and start using your familial language, like your family words, right? So how would I say what I just said in English in Cherokee? How am I going to say, my children are always hungry? Yeah? So, my kids comes from our word for eggs. Eggs, right? So, agwezi, agwage. That's how you're going to hear it out and about, agwage. Shogo uwash, agwage, my one child. No, tall ale squeezed, you know, 2 or more, a bunch. Degwage. Degwage, uni yoshishko'i. Uh-huh.
So you're just adding
You're just adding who you're talking about
who
now.
you're talking about.
Exactly, exactly. So if I wanted to say my kids are hungry, this is how I would put it. Deep waves, uni yoshishko'i. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. That's it. So, again, this deep wage, our D, made it a plural. Our GW comes from that agua, right? Meaning me. And that eggs is talking about eggs. Eggs. Or, in this case, children. Because one egg, wait, see. One egg, wait. Okay? Now, what if I wanted to say, your kids are always hungry? Yes?
I thought plural eggs were two.
When we're talking about his or hers,
Then it would be you.
for his or her kids. Right? Zuwades is eggs. That's also his or her plural children. You're good, you're good. You're totally good. So this is where our pronominal prefixes and our pluralizations come into place. And I kind of wanted to point that out to you a little bit anyway. What happened to my ah?
It got replaced by the I.
Uh-huh.
That's a plural.
Yes. So your D is the plural, right? In this case, that GW was enough to say
It was mine.
it was mine, right? So, my ah got swallowed up by that A right there, or the E right there. So, D, Wade, Z. Now, how am I going to get to your multiples? So, we still have the A's. We still have that because that's the egg part of the word, right? Now, we need to figure out how to get it from mine to yours.
Would be zombie.
Not the whole za, not the whole za. Why? Because the TS is the person mark. Zaid. Zaid. Now, we're talking about plurals again.
D, Z, Z.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Z would be
So Zaydzi would be your one egg. Zayd.
Okay.
DJ.
Safety is all my eggs, or my kids.
All your kids. All your kids, right? So if you want to get specific and talk about your one child, right? Say you guys are coming to me and talking about Noah specifically, right? Egwa, Zayd, Uyoshishko'i. Your one child, your big child, is always hungry. That's what that would come out to. And I would know that you're talking about my biggest child, Noah, and that he's always hungry. Does that make sense? Now, if you're coming at me and talking about all the kids, DJs, Now, be careful with this E on the end because it's not always pronounced. And they're going to be like, your mom, right? So, I have a tendency to just go ahead and chop it up because they're going to hear that and think, I'm not quite understanding you. But that equates the Zays. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Uh-huh. So now we're talking about your kids and the fact that they are always hungry. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now you can start adding in different family members, different whoever's, the dog, the cat. Agwadzeli gifli uni yoshish, or Agwadzeli Dagwadzeli gifli uni yoshishkoi. My multiple dogs are always hungry. They are. Right? So, Dagwadzeli, that's mine. My multiple, because of the D. Dagwadzeli gifli uni yoshishkoi. Or if I just had one dog that's hungry all the time. Agwadzeli gifli uyoshishkoi. Does that make sense? Okay. But either way, now you know, what is that now? You've got your present, your immediate past, your immediate future, and your habitual. That's 40 different ways you can talk about somebody being hungry.
What's the you, her kids, her egg?
Oh, okay. Zoo weights. Zoo weights. I've heard people say, so her singular kid would be the ooh weights, right? Her singular kid would be the ooh weights. Now, I'm not entirely sure where that TS comes from. I just know that sometimes it's a plural marker. Every now and then.
So we don't have to put the D in front of zoo for that, right?
No, because
that makes it.
that makes it the plural. And I think it really only happens with the U because you don't need the D when, because again, that GW right there was enough to know that it's mine. And that TS for the U starts with a consonant anyway.
Would they look at us funny if we actually forgot that and just put D, zoo, Z, Uniyoshi, Shkoi?
Probably. You can try it and see, absolutely. But for whatever reason, that's why that's there. I'm not. Zoo weights. Uh-huh.
Zoo weights, Uniyoshi, Shkoi.
Uh-huh. So what did you just say?
I said her kids are always hungry.
Exactly. That's it. Her kids are always hungry. What time are we at?
It's,
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay. So now these Yoshi words that you just learned, and I want you to form a sentence talking about anybody or anything. And I want you to read it out to me and then tell me, or well, no, don't tell me. We're going to try to guess what you just said. Okay? So, into the present tense. Either way, we're just practicing. I'm going to put mine on. You can make it as complicated or as simple as you want to. to go first?
Oh,
Okay.
Ahiyoshi ha, no lay, the Guayzi, Yoshi Shkoi.
Hold on, what did she say?
Ahiyoshi ha,
I am hungry.
no lay, the Guayzi,
And what?
the Guayzi,
The Guayzi.
Unyo,
Guayzi. My kids are hungry.
Uniyo Shkishkoi.
Shkogi. Uniyoshi Shkogi.
Let's go eat.
So what are
They're
they?
always
Uniyo
hungry.
Shko.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hungry
That's
now,
it.
my kids are always hungry. Yeah.
I'm hungry right now, and my kids are always hungry. That's it.
Yeah.
Doesn't that blow your mind?
It is.
I mean, it might take you a few times to listen and be like, shogo show. Say it one more time, you know? Shogo show, Neil. But
Ahiyoshi ha,
you're getting there.
no lay.
Anybody else want to give it a go? What do you think, Deb?
I don't have anything. Give us yours.
All right, here's mine. I would, but I'll tell you it, okay? That way you can kind of get into it. Come on. Egwa, yunega, zistu, uyoshi shkogi. So one more time, just listen. Egwa, unega, zistu, uyoshi shkogi. That's it. The big white rabbit is always hungry. Isn't that so freaking cool?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm so excited. That's
I
fun.
didn't get the rabbit part.
Yeah. Progress.
Further than I was.
All right. We'll cut it there.